Well, we would put it in different words. I want all of me to be here. I want all of me to be here. It's not that you don't want to be here. It's you don't want to partially be here. You don't want to be here in diminished form. You don't want to be here as a less manifested version of who you are. You want all of you to be here. Because it's only in those down times that you think that. When you're rocking and rolling, when you're flowing, when you're feeling good, then there's no place that you would rather be. And that's why we speak of that eagerness. We think of these seminars, we've been calling them Art of Allowing. Perhaps we should begin calling them Eagerness Restoration Seminars. Because you came with eagerness because there was nothing that was muting it. You hadn't picked up things along your physical trail that you were using as vibrational reasons to disallow the fullness. Watch little kids and see their eagerness. There was a child at the airport who discovered the moving walkway and managed to get on it without his mother noticing. And so she's walking on normal ground while he's walking on the moving walkway, and she can't begin to keep up with him. And it's such a metaphor for life in general. In other words, parents can't vibrationally have a hard time keeping up with these noodled ones that are coming. And so in order to level the playing field, most parents and teachers and establishments set out to mute the eagerness as quickly as possible so that they can relate to their children. And we do everything we can to restore that eagerness at whatever stage of your life you're willing to begin to listen. So I don't know how to return myself to the eager person that I was born as. And not being there feels awful. In fact, it has felt so awful at times that I've wondered why even bother to come. And then some of my eagerness returns, and for a little while I know why I'm here, but I haven't been able to really sustain it. So I've sort of been moving with the tides and frankly feeling bad more than good more of the time.
Yes.
But because I'm determined, I don't quit, I don't give up, I keep trying. I keep feeling like if I could just get a handle on exactly what I'm trying to do, what my best plan of action is, that I could get around this, that I could figure it out. I can feel it, I just don't quite know what to do. It feels nebulous to me. It's real enough that I believe it's possible, but it doesn't come out and shine bright for me very often. And it's that bright, shining eagerness that I'm looking for. And viscerally, I remember it, but it's just not present often enough, and it's been long enough that it's just an inclination or an impulse with me, something that I haven't been able to really tangibly experience and manage. The reason it's soothing is because it's like poking at the problem still a little bit, but poking at it more generally rather than so specifically. So we're just going to stay there for a while and keep poking until your set point actually moves, and it has already. It did move. That's why we ask you the question, do you feel more soothed in this process? Now, part of the reason you feel more soothed is because we are validating stuff you've known. But another reason is because you can feel with everything that you are, because we are projecting with everything that we are, that we find no fault whatsoever with you standing for a while, short or long, in a state of lack of eagerness. Nothing has gone wrong. It's just the starting point of a journey. And it's so not just the early starting point of the journey, because you feel so powerfully what you want. It's laid out there in a really powerful way. And it just doesn't matter where you are. It just doesn't matter where you are. In fact, if you don't have a starting point of a journey, then you don't have the next thing that's more fun. In other words, this perception that we were talking about earlier, it's the movement, it's the motion, it's the leaving behind of the resistance and the picking up of the allowing that is so delicious about life. And we mean that so fervently that we want to say to you, we like it when you lose your connection because it's so fun getting it back. And every time you lose it, you put more rockets out there. And that's the process. Lose the connection, ask for more. Gain the connection, come into balance. Lose the connection, ask for more. Gain the connection, come into balance. In other words, you never said, I'll go forth into a physical body and be bouncing off the wall, eager. So that bouncing off the wall would be exhausting too. So You've launched these rockets. So now that all feels pretty good. So did you get the point? We hold no negative judgment about where you are at all. At all. Because it just doesn't matter, because everybody is where they are on their way to something that they like more. So who gets to be the giant judge in the sky that gets to say, oh, you should be further along? So when you try to find that place, as we find it, the reason that you feel this lightening up is because where you are doesn't matter. It doesn't matter no matter what. It doesn't matter no matter how big it is in relationship to where you want to be. And once you get that, then you really are free. Then you're free. So now let's get a little more specific. And we can't get specific about all those people that don't have any business, even if you've made them up in your mind, because you didn't make them all up. They were there. You recorded them. You paid attention to them. You watched their reaction to them. The people that you think you might ask for money would have an opinion about why you're asking for money. In other words, you're not making all this stuff up. Mm-hmm. It's just that there's no point in focusing on anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. So you've diffused it a little bit. So now let's get specifically positive. Just because we want to demonstrate to ourselves, we're speaking for you, I want to show myself that I can feel good without anything changing that I'm responding to other than my own thought. It's my changing thought that brings my emotional manifestational response, not the change of circumstances. It's the change of thought. So I like giving myself the label of someone who was born with eagerness. And I'm happy that I still have enough memory of that eagerness that I know something's off when I don't have it. That's a really good sign. My guidance system must be well intact. And these little buggers that I've been teaching for a while, they've been really good for me because they reminded me of what true eagerness is. And frankly, they made me jealous that I'd gone so far in the losing of my eagerness. Whenever I witness someone living something that I want to live, it can't help but help me realize that there's a vibrational distinction between where I am and where I really want to be. So a sort of wake-up call happens in that and help me to reestablish my desire for eagerness. Eagerness is an interesting thing. We're speaking from your point of view. Eagerness means frisky. It means clarity. It means glad to be alive. It means feeling good in my body. Eagerness is sort of a catch-all word, isn't it? Eagerness and well-being are sort of a synonymous sentiment. I want to be eager about life, which means I want to be up and ready for it. I want to be Johnny on the spot. I want to be at a clear place of rendezvousing. I want to be alive and ready. I want to be good at comebacks. I want to be really quick at conversation. I want to have good timing in traffic. I like moving in my body and have good time. I like being productive in my body. I like it that when I open the cupboard door and something falls out that I catch it. I really like being tuned in, tapped in, turned on. Is this feeling good to you?
Yes.
I would now like to describe that eagerness that I've been missing as the allowance of the full presence of my inner being within me in my moment in time. That's what eagerness is. Eagerness is a moment in time when I haven't put myself in a vibrational frequency that disallows the fullness of who I am. So all along what I've been yearning for is to be who I came here to be in more moments of my life experience. And of course, it is completely irrational to believe that I could move through life with all of the diversity that is around me on this planet and maintain a perfect record of perfect vibrational frequency with my inner being. That's not even possible, and it is certainly not something that I came forth ever intending to experience. I didn't say, I'll go forth and just remember that vibration, because if you did, you couldn't interact with anyone. You couldn't have a conversation with anyone. You couldn't watch TV, never watch CNN. You couldn't be even in this world if that was the standard or the goal that you had set. But you didn't set that goal. You didn't say, I'll be non-physical energy in a physical body. If that had been your intention to stay in that high frequency, you would not have directed yourself into this environment where there would be contrast that would give you new desires. So the eagerness that you're looking for is to get your eyes off the floorboard and begin looking toward who you really are, or that which you've become. The what isness will always cripple you. It will take you to your knees, because what is never, ever, ever even comes close to who you really are, no matter how good what is. You see? No matter how good what is, there is very little eagerness in what is. It's just not there. What is old news. Eagerness is the new stuff that's coming. That feeling of eagerness, it's recognizing that through life I have become more, that the source part of me is already being it, and knowing that I get to move toward it eternally. That is the definition of eagerness. Understanding that I will always be in any moment in time, whether I'm physical or non-physical focused, because it is the same, although more dramatized in physical. In any moment in time, I will always be less in this moment than I am becoming, and that is the promise of life. Because if you could be all that you are right now, then what? I don't know, I don't feel all that eager. Feel sort of done. Eager is recognizing that you've put something out there and then moving toward it. And nothing is more crippling than letting somebody convince you that you're in a not good place, that there's something wrong with the place you're in. Because there's never anything wrong with the place you're in. And sometimes we think that the worse place you're in any snapshot, the more eagerness is possible. We really want you to feel the relationship between what you're thinking right now and what the source within you is thinking. Because the source within you is the dominant part of you, and you can't get too far away from that frequency without feeling the self-inflicted, self-imposed, self-focused distraction or self-focused resistance to the fullness of who you are. And we know you all live for those moments that you call those highs. You live for those moments. You so want to go to a movie that gives you that lift, or find a lover that gives you that lift, or have a moment that gives you that lift. In fact, every single thing that every one of you wants, no matter what it is, whether it's a material object or a state of being or a moment. Esther was really irritated on the airplane for a moment because she watched almost an entire movie before the plane landed. And right at the end, right at the triumphant end, when everything was going to come into alignment and everything was going to work out just the way she had wanted it to through the whole movie, the little screen went up into the ceiling of the airplane, and Esther said, "No! What's wrong with this picture? I want to get to that good thing." And so we want you to realize that everything that you want is because you think you will feel better in the having of it. And that's an emotion that you're having. That's an emotional manifestation. So we think it is accurate to say everything that matters to you is because of the emotional manifestation. And if we can convince you that it's the emotional manifestation that you're going after, then you can be self-empowered in this moment to move yourself into that manifestation even before what you would ordinarily think is your justification for the manifestation of positive emotion has occurred. Once you understand that you're putting out a signal and that signal is being responded to, then it's not hard to figure things out once you begin making the correlation between your signal and what's happening. So how do you make the correlation? How do you translate this vibration into something that's meaningful? You do it in a lot of ways without even knowing you're doing it. You translate vibration, and that's why you see. But most people usually don't think of sight as a vibrational thing, but it is. Easier to hear it about your hearing, isn't it? Translation of vibration. What you smell is a translation of vibration. Your touching is, you're translating, even your tongue is translating vibration. Different food has different vibration, and that's why it tastes different to you. Everything is vibrational. So when you begin to accept that this is a vibrational universe that you are translating, and that your senses translate it, and then you begin to become consciously aware of the most significant translator of vibration that you possess, which is your emotional center, then you begin to understand how things fit together. Before you understand how things fit together, you have to understand what the things are that are fitting together. In other words, what makes the vibration that you call emotion is the positioning or the relationship between the vibration that you are offering from your broader non-physical perspective and the vibration that you're offering because of the thought you're thinking right now. In other words, you are